Hello guys, so today we are going to discuss some of the containers of the honeypots. Okay, so here you can see it's the Cowrie container that is having my maximum logs. So today we are discuss about this Cowrie container, what we actually see into this and what this about. So here from the dashboards we are actually moving to Cowrie container. Okay, so basically this is the general dashboard that is coming for the Cowrie container. Okay, so if you are going through that particular container, so there are multiple things that you are going to see. So I will explain you one by one, like what is the actual meaning. So first of all, I am telling you some briefing about the Cowrie container. So as you see, Cowrie container is majorly about SSH attacks, like it captures when the attackers try to connect with you through SSH command over the port 22. And there are also some of the attackers who using port 23, that is the telnet, and then they try to access your system through brute force, like they are going to apply various techniques so that they can easily access your system. Okay, so this is the initial dashboard that are looking to that you are looking for the Cowrie container. Okay, so here we are discuss some of the important factors that are actually about the Cowrie container. So if you are seeing into this particular block, so you here you are see the most of the attacks that are coming is actually the SSH attack. So SSH attack means attackers want the remote access, and actually attackers want to remotely connect it with your system through SSH. And for this, the most famous SSH port is 22, like SSH is actually running over the port number 22 of your system. Okay, so here we are seeing this, and these are some of the famous ports that attackers want to exploit. Basically, port 22 is for SSH, port 23 is for particular telnet, port 80 is for HTTP, and so on. 443 is for HTTPS. So like these are some of the most important ports that attackers try. So actually if I'm going to talk about the Cowrie container, so Cowrie container actually has the logs of the SSH attacks and the different brute force techniques that attackers try to exploit your system. So the main role of Cowrie container is to capture all the logs that are coming over your container when attacker try to connect to your system by SSH. So basically to the attacker it is actually showing a remote shell that they have to access. Like for example, if we are going to deploy our servers over DigitalOcean or AWS, then what is actually we are doing, AWS is providing us a cloud shell in EC2 instance, and similarly in DigitalOcean we are actually utilizing droplet on which we are deploying the things. So in the similar way it appears to the attacker as a real system. So attackers try to connect with the shell through SSH connection. So this container is actually capturing all the details that attacker used during the SSH. Okay, so the prominent commands that the attacker try are coming here. So these are some of the commands that the attacker utilize. So we will discuss them one by one. And secondly, so this command and this command, both of these commands are related to SSH keys. So actually what attacker try into these commands, like they try to modify our SSH keys so that they can access the system. Okay, and if we are talking about these commands, so these commands are actually about the CPU information, like they would like to know about the machine, like is this the Linux machine, Windows machine, this is the initial stage, like they want the some information about the system. And this command is majorly about the memory. They want to know like what is the free memory, what is the RAM, so that they easily think like what are the actual resources that the machine utilize. So that's, and cron tab is actually about the cron jobs that are running over the system. And then these commands w, like who I am, who login, what are the users of the system, And unnamed is also about the operating system, its kernel, its version number. So all these commands are actually related to our system. Who am I? What is my system about? What is the operating system? What is the kernel? How many users are logging into the system? So this is all the details like attackers want to know. So if I am going to do some of the briefing, then the attackers try to attack the system. Okay, so here the attackers try reconnaissance, like they would like to know about the system. This is the first step. Then the second step is they try to access the system through SSH by making the SSH connection. And the third step is for establishing SSH, most of the systems required username, passwords. So they try brute force technique to actually exploit the system. Okay, and then if they are able to exploit the system, then the third step is they actually test, like actually they are going to access their malicious files. So here you see Cori top URI downloads, Cori top downloads. So the main difference between these is that these are actually the links that attacker try to so that they get their malicious files or not. So these are some. So this particular section is showing us basically the different links attacker try, and this content, this particular section, top downloads, is actually showing us what are the files that actually attacker downloaded over the system and how many times they try. So these are some of the files. So if we are going into the description of the file, then we see clean.sh is basically about he just removing his footprints, his all working over the system, like he actually want to destroy his logs from the system so that we didn't trace him back. And and then you are seeing most of the files are related to red tail. So red tail is about he actually get the access of the system, and red tail basically is the malicious software that is used in the IoT based devices for accessing them. So this is more about the red tail. So here you are seeing ARM7, ARM8. So these are some of the different variants that are compatible with the different versions of the machine, like Linux. If we are talking just about Linux, then we have the Ubuntu, Kali Linux, then we have the Red Hat. And if similarly we are going into the Windows operating system, we have Windows 8, 10, 11. So like these are all, there are certain different variants of the operating system, and they try with the different red tail compatibilities, malicious codes, so that they exploit the system in order to access. So like this is all, this is about the Cori container. And here you see like most of the default username and passwords are root 1234. So these are some of the uh, logs about the attacker they try, like they are mostly use this word root, and 123456 is the password for this. So these are some of the details, like during the brute force which username and passwords he try the most. And if we are going up, so here you can see Cori Vian Pi top 10. So basically this information is about which particular scanners attacker try to connect with our SSH. Like it's not into this way, like attacker just coming over our IP and then he starts sending us the logs. It doesn't work into this way. Attackers have different bots, different automation tools, different scanning devices that actually scan our system and try to find the malicious things that are running over the network. So these are the different bots that most of the attackers use, that is SSH, lib SSH. So that is actually a bot that is actually developed in C language, and they try to connect with our system. And this is SSH go, so that represent like it's in the this particular bot is developed in the Go language, that is right now is the best encrypting language in the cybersecurity world. And into this particular section you are seeing like what are the most countries that try to hack my system. So it's United States, Singapore, Netherlands. And into this attack by port is majorly about which port attacker want to exploit the most of its SSH, obviously, because our latest systems are running over the SSH, and Telnet is somehow using, but it's because it's very old technology that actually depends on the Telnet. Nowadays, Telnet is not working so much, but still many IoT devices basically use this particular Telnet networks these days. So these are some of the information, and these are the port numbers on which they try to attack the most. They use HTTP, HTTPS for SSH for port 22, 23 is for Telnet. And then if we are, so these are the commands, these are the top down. So this is more about the Cori container. Like this is actually the real system, like it's appealing like a real system to the attacker as a login shell where the attacker tries to connect, they want to access it in SSH. If we are going into the more dive, like these are some of the top IPs that we are looking here. So this is the IP that actually try to connect, and it attempts around 19,000 times, okay, to connect with my system. And the famous ASN autonomous network that is using is the DigitalOcean. So you see, like, around, so there's a so many difference between the DigitalOcean and the next cloud platform, that is the Byte Party. So the major difference is like DigitalOcean, most of the attacks are coming from the DigitalOcean, and DigitalOcean is one of the best platforms who is working in the field of cybersecurity to secure their network so that attackers didn't use it. So why it's 1,44,000? The main reason is that there are certain platforms of there are certain cloud platforms like Try Hack Me, Hack the Box. They are one of the best cybersecurity training platforms. So they have a deal with the DigitalOcean. Like they actually use the DigitalOcean servers to uh, so that their students learn about cybersecurity techniques and do some practical analysis over this particular virtual machines. So the virtual machines, these platforms are using actually DigitalOcean machines. So that's why maybe they are into this way, because it has collaboration with that platforms. So maybe their virtual servers are using by that platforms to train their students. So that's why it got most of the hits. And if we are going some of the deep analysis over this, like if we are just looking into this IP, which technique this particular IP is using, so then we just have to go here, and we are coming into the discover section that is actually importantly about the log section. So what we are doing now, we actually put the IP here, put the container here, and then we see the pattern, like which pattern this attacker uses the most. So what we are going to see, Cody container and source IP from which we got actually the attack. So this is the source IP who we want to check, like what are the details we actually get from it. So there are some of the analysis. Yeah, so this is the IP, main IP. So these are some of the attacks we are getting from this particular. Okay, so if we are going to expand it here, then we see the JSON into the tabular form. Like if we are going most of his JSON, then we will see like it's coming from, yeah, it's using the DigitalOcean anonymous system to attack my system. This is the first detail. Secondly, it's yeah, this is DigitalOcean. It operates from Singapore, Asia region, Singapore. So the attack country from where he operates is the Singapore. It's this location of the virtual machine. Okay, and this is the container who captured this particular log about this. So like there are so many details about what type of port he used. So just for the, yeah, we also filtering the data from here. Like for example, I want to see destination port is my port on which I like is my port, like on which port attackers try to attack. So if I put here destination port, so this field actually shows us like which field he uses. And then we also filtering, if in case if he using the brute force, then which username he use, what is his pattern, and if he using maybe the passwords. So yeah, so if yeah, so this IP is actually 100%. So this IP is, yeah, so here is the passwords, usernames. So let me see what is his pattern. So yeah, so yeah, this one is his approach. This is the port number we see. This is the port number on which he tries to attack. Like these are some of the destination port 22, and this is the username, root, password. Then again root, he different the password. So his pattern is like he attacking over this port, then he is going to change the user. He is actually keeping the same username but actually changing up the password on some basis. And if we are going to search, so this is the search result on destination port. Yep, it's the port number 22. We 100% uses this port. Okay, and there are some of the, these are some of the different passwords he is trying to attack. So this is a brute force attack coming from this particular IP, and this is the so he just used root as our username, and then he uses the different password, and this is the port number. So this is how this container works, and this is the deep details like you will see from this. So actually, just to end this, I have to say like Cowrie container is importantly about it. It is appealing as a login shell to the attacker, and the work of this container is actually to capture the attacks that is related to SSH. And if we are seeing these commands, so into this attacker actually want to know about our system reconnaissance, like he actually want to know what is the system about, and so that he attacks, he thinks about what he try next. And he also tries to modify our SSH keys, and then he tries to know like what are the users that are logged into the system so that he access the token, break it. And then this is the uh, autonomous network that most of the attackers use, is the DigitalOcean, because it has the maximum number of attacks coming from this particular cloud server. And these are some of the malwares he actually, like this is, these are the links he used to download the malware, and these are the actual malware files he downloaded over this system. And one last suggestion is, please don't run this malware over your virtual machine. If you are running this malware, maybe your system crashes or your access giving to that attacker. So don't run this. If you have to do some analysis over this malware, then try to make a new virtual machine, put this file over it, and that is completely isolated system. And these are some of the username, passwords, and about 91% is the SSH attacks, and only 9% are the telnet. And these are like some of the ports you try out. These are the countries, and these are the different client and the boards, you can say boards that actually coming board details that the attacker try to scanning the network and then to try to connect with our system. So yeah, this one is all about the Cowrie container, and these are, and this is some of the deep analysis if you want to see like what are the what is the maximum I like, if this IP, what this IP is doing, how, what is the pattern of this IP, like he is trying to connect to port 22 and port 22, and then he apply the SSH attacks over it. And if, and we also have also filtering out some other data. For example, if I am talking about this particular command, like which IP actually did this command. So here I am just filtering the data like so if so here on this filtering we are actually getting the IP that try this particular command. So what's the IP? Yeah, so these are some of the IPs. So if I am going to see this IP who actually uses this command, so here are the documents that are actually filtering out about the details of this IP. And when we look into the particular object, so yep, this object not only uh, running this command but also try to connect to SSH by port 22, different usernames, different username, and there are some of the details over it. And if we are going onto that particular log, then we see some of the details from here. So yeah, this is more about the Cori container. So whenever you are actually learning about the Cori container, so your mind is clear, like what things you are looking into the Cori container, like what are the most commands that attacker use to access your system through SSH, and what are the top regions, what are the top IPs, so what they try to do. And most importantly, the role of the Cori container is just to capture about the SSH and SSH attack and the different malware IPs he try, so that maybe he download later on. So this container is not actually stored the malwares. So there is an other service, another container who actually stored the details of the malware. So this container is more about SSH login, and that's all. Thanks for your time.